Hello, I'm Karen Bowman. I'm also known as KB Squared on Wiki, and it's great to be celebrating Wiki things today. I thought I'd introduce myself by saying I've been an editor since 2018, but I'm still attending events to learn about Wiki editing. Um, and I've so much to learn. I do appreciate all the advice and improvements to any of the articles I've written, even though sometimes it's a bit annoying when people change things that you've done, but you learn so much from the way other people approach the articles that you're writing about. I learned initially at the University of Edinburgh when I was working there, but now I'm retired. So if I'm not actually editing, I go to my allotment or I knit. And I like walking and seeing nature. And recently I saw a red squirrel, which was very exciting. This year, as part of celebrating Wikimedia, I started some new work and, of course, ended up going down a rabbit hole because I was supposed to be writing a wee note about celebrating Wikimedia. And then I thought, oh, I've mentioned allotments. Have I got pictures of the allotments? So the pictures of the allotments are now on my user page. But I'm not going to start looking into knitting, or the wiki story will never be told. Wiki has come into my life at a time when I needed something to do during COVID, pre-COVID and during COVID, and since I've retired. So it's been great. I really enjoyed the first training that I had with Ewan McAndrew, who's also known as Stigglehammer. And we were focusing on the 100 years of women's suffrage. So yes, we were doing this in 2018. And I became hooked and I've done a lot of articles on suffrage and women's suffrage, and checking up today, the 15th of October, I've published 135 articles that are still there, which is good. The Women in Red meetups are in the University of Edinburgh with Ewan and others, and they're once a month, and they're part of the Wiki project, Women in Red, which I would recommend to anyone that's interested in biographies, women, or generally wanted to help gender balance within Wikipedia. So I've also met a lot of really interesting people, some of whom have become friends, personal friends, as opposed to just wiki friends. Particularly Roger, who's been so helpful. He was one of the founders of Women in Red, also known as Victular, it's his name on Wiki. And Ian, the archivist, is, yes, an archivist who has joined Wiki training, but also likes to work behind the scenes, searching for information and sharing it. So he and I worked on a lot of pages, especially during the time when we were all stuck at home. We've worked on mainly, as I said, suffrage, women's rights, women who went off to the World War I hospitals, and so on. But occasionally I wander into other subjects like shipwrecks and lighthouses, when I did a remote session with Ian Watt of Code the City in Aberdeen, and food, like writing about food. And we had a fun Burn Supper editathon where we had haggis flavoured crisps in Iron Brew, very Scottish, and Melissa added a lovely picture of a Burn Supper, which is now on Commons. So speaking of Scottish things, I've helped the monthly online Scots Wiki editing. And again, it's an open event, people can join. We co-edit on Zoom. And if you're a Scots speaker, then that's great. If you're not, you can still add images and citations, which are called sources in Scots. And through this, I've joined a transatlantic conversation group to improve my Scots, and met people there online. And this also enabled me to add a very funny Doric, which is a northeast of Scotland language, film to the Three Little Pigs story called The Three Wee Grumpies, and it's certainly worth a look. So this year, I've now moved on a wee bit, going to more wiki meetups and talking about all sorts of subjects and getting involved in trying to do more online and in-person meetings for Wikimedia. So I don't want to run totally out of time, but I've also worked on witches and castles, Wiki Love monuments, taking photographs in the local area, and really have found that Wiki has been such a big part of my life. I've become part of a community of people all over the world, and I think it's a great thing to be celebrating this at this time, particularly when we really are in a post-truth era, and Wikimedia tries and continues to try to be accurate and reliable and to source its information properly. So thank you for having me, and have a great celebration.